I'm excited to be with you guys today. When Dr. Brown texted and asked, I was like, I have nothing to talk about. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about. But in my 7 months at ABC, it's been a privilege to not be the guy, but to serve under the guy and to make mistakes and have opportunity to try new things and see how they work. And just under Todd's guidance has been great because I think Todd served in just about every context. So it's been really cool to get to learn under him.
Well, it's great to meet you guys, and thanks, Mark, for the invitation and to be back with Dr. Kreider as well. Dr. Joe was just with us back in the end of January. We have what's called a worship ministry weekend. So once Christmas is done, it's like we are just exhausted. And so January is a great time to refocus, to get prepared for Good Friday and Easter, which comes early this year, right? All right, end of March. And so I've typically used that as an inspirational meeting for all in the worship ministry. And for us, that includes our tech team, our 1115 band and vocalist, my choir and my orchestra. And so I like to bring clinicians in and folks from the outside because they see me every week. They see Garrett every week. Now this year, he took his team, and Stephen, our media director, who's become a new student at Southwestern. He'll be taking classes online, which we're proud of him for doing that. And so next year, they'll probably bring clinicians or just regular folks. I mean, just folks in the ministry who can inspire and equip. And so Dr. Joe's been with me twice as a keynote speaker for the large group setting on a Friday night. And then I asked him this time to take our orchestra, because he's got some really good chops, right? In the trombone, the guy is, but he works so well with people. And so back Easter of last year, the associate worship leader came and said he'd been there a couple of years. He was a UT graduate and was leading our worship team and all the other, we call it Summit now. It's a tell what's coming. Yeah, we were doing Watermark was streaming from here on a Tuesday night, and we would do some live worship with that. But we've kind of made it our own now, and so Garrett's getting to pioneer, build a band for that. And so after Noah left, I'm only 2.5 years, at that point 2 years new here. I don't know a lot of people. And so I knew Dr. Kreider. I said, okay. And so he's, like he said, he had someone for me, and we started this partnership together. And it's just a blessing to be here with you guys. Are you going to ask questions, or you just want us to?
I can probably ask a couple of questions to get things started. And as time goes on, I think if you all feel the freedom to raise your hand and to ask questions as you think about, but the main, when I was where you are, either at undergrad or at master's, there's the option of I'm going to be involved in a church because I'm just going to be going to church and I'm an active volunteer and I'm doing everything that I get asked to do, and I'm just really grateful to be there. And I'm also grateful that I don't have the responsibility to do anything, but it's enough to check the box on field ministry or worship internship. The other one is you go to some place where you are a role player and you're getting paid a little stipend, which may count as gas money, and you've got a little more responsibility. You may have a job description and you're doing a little bit more, or you could be the person that's responsible for the worship and it's a smaller church, but you're responsible for doing everything. Or you can be an associate, which is a full-time at a larger church where all the things possible you can be are there, and you are continuing to mentor. I feel like the past year and a half, I feel like in our school, I have a role like Garrett's, because I'm new to being a full-time professor still. And so I feel like I am constantly looking for guidance and mentoring to Dr. Lewis and Dr. Kreider. And so I know that sometimes people can go into those associate roles with more pride than they need. And it is a barrier to learning and to doing all that maybe they can. And yet on the other side, when I first, it was very difficult for me as a full-time worship pastor to learn how to best utilize and mentor an associate. Like the first time you do, you're like, what do I do with, do I take the job that I'm doing and how do I even do this? And so you're all likely to be on both sides of this, probably more on Garrett's side to begin with, but who knows? And I think hearing from these two guys is going to be really, really helpful for all of us. So that's the background. So take off from there.
Well, I would earlier, like I graduated here in 1991, and I was very open to be an associate at a larger church where I could learn, because I didn't know it all. Okay. And I was eager to learn, but the Lord never put me there. So it's a matter once again of trusting the Lord, seeking his will, and following his open doors. And so I went to from Mobile College with a Bachelor of Arts in Vocal Performance. I don't play guitar. I know a few chords, more of a keyboard guy. But I came here to work on a Master of Divinity degree I took some music classes so I could continue that and I took Hebrew so that I could qualify for the Doctor of Ministry degree at New Orleans at the time, because their requirement was in their DMin program was one language. And so I took Hebrew here and so I could tailor make that degree into, even though it's not a musical degree, it was in the area and passion which I love, and that is the worship of the Lord Jesus. And so he never led me into a larger church where I was an associate somewhere. So have been learning that in the larger churches that I've been to. Garrett is not the first that I've been with, but I'm grateful. I'm 60 now. I just turned 60 not too long ago, and I still don't feel like I know it all. I want to continue to grow and to learn. And working with Garrett has been absolute pleasure. Now, I wrote some things out about him, all right, because I didn't want to come in just kind of blind, and they're just kind of bullet pointed. And if you want to break in and ask a certain thing, you can certainly do that. But with Garrett, he has an eagerness to lead, which that's what I want. If I'm calling someone to be a leader, all right, whatever that is, I need him to be a worship leader. I need him to lead and advance a team. He's eager to learn, which I love. I was so surprised he came to my choir practice when he first got there, because it was the middle of summer. He didn't have other responsibilities. So he's jumping up with my choir and making a big difference with our traditional service, which we don't call that anymore. I call it our choir and orchestra service and our 11:15 service, taking some of those labels out of the thing. And I think he's grown a lot in 7 months. And I've grown a lot in learning because I want to get to know him. You can use people in ministry, all right? And sometimes you use people even in vocal ministry and musicians so that you look good. You have to be really careful of that, okay? He has great skills, a lot of skills that I don't have. I was so blessed that he wants to and he plays in our worship orchestra every week. I didn't have that with my last associate. I wanted that. And so in the vetting process, I talked to him about it, and he's there every week. Because eventually, he's going to have to help me take that group, which when I went there 2.5 years ago, I'm sorry, it was scary to watch as far as I went from a rhythm section, an orchestra with a rhythm section, and everybody in the rhythm section had ears. They could use their eye. I don't have that here. Okay, they're not on ears. He knows how to get us there. I don't feel like I can even get us there really well. And so this is a slow process of change. And Garrett's the right man. He's eager to help and eager to grow and learn. He's early and he stays late. If that's the only two things you hear today, he gets there before I do on Sunday mornings. Our service starts at 8:45. Our call time to start worship is 8:15. I get there generally about 7:45. He's already there. And he's setting up, ready, going through the songs. I love that about you, and I appreciate that about you. Sometimes he's there later than I am during the day, working, doing his thing. As far as managing and supervising, I'm not in his office all the time. I'm not micromanaging him. I believe in what God has done through this seminary and helping him to become a leader. Sure, we have 2 standing meetings a week, every Monday afternoon. We come back, he and our media director, and we talk through the worship and evaluate anything that went wrong. We celebrate what went right. And then, on Wednesdays, we meet to talk about the upcoming week and then future weeks, and we just talk through the service about our musicians, everything else in regards to that. And then church staff-wise, we meet on Tuesdays, and he's part and eager to be a part of that team. Sometimes in ministry, you can get siloed to where I went in First Baptist Arnold was where I was. It was a big music and media team, had 6 full-time people. It was my first real time to lead a team like that, but they were siloed. They didn't even want to participate in Vacation Bible School. I'm like, dudes, Vacation Bible School is the biggest evangelistic event that we do at Southern Baptist. 1/4 of baptisms come through VBS. I've always been a part of VBS. And so we had to change that culture. He jumped in 2 weeks after he arrived with us to what I call a creative arts camp. All right. He did a devotional for me one day, and he did the pro presenter because I had to have it for the kids. Now, the first year we did it, we had 45. Last year we had 90. We're shooting for 120 in a medium to smaller size church. And I know I'm talking way too much.
Did you?
You're good. I was just curious, because I've had to deal with the siloed issues. What were some of the ways that you fought against that or kind of helped lead people in a new way of thought?
Yeah, my wife and I are in, like this Friday night was really a children's ministry event. It was a fun event now. Okay, what do we call it?
Family Fun Fest.
Family Fun Fest. So Sonia and I got to do the Nerf battles with the families. All right, we managed and supervised that. So just participating in that and having the music team get through that, and it's as a leader, that's where you set it from the top. If they see me as part of everything else, and I'm on the executive team, which is the pastor, executive pastor, and myself. And so I want to know what's going on in the student ministry area. I want to know what's going on in the children's area and participate. And so, yeah, you kind of combat that by breaking some of those traditions that some of people get in, and it can happen in the music ministry easy. Garrett, he's all over the place, and people like that, and so they're inviting him to come and sing and lead when I don't get that invitation anymore. He gets the invitation, and I'm happy. When he succeeds, I succeed. When we're, when we did "I'm Not Ashamed of the Gospel" as a remake of a song this past Sunday with a beautiful orchestration, the soloist out front, and Garrett's leading, and our team, we celebrate those wins. Our church has moved from not, and in some of the ways that I've done that, I don't really want to get sidetracked on how to do some of that. I mean, we do hire some players, trumpet, trombone, to help bring up the level of our orchestra, because it was way down, and it seemed like people didn't care that much, but they notice a difference. Okay. I'm trying to institute an orchestra scholarship program where I hire UT and Concordia students that are skilled, and basically pay them. I don't call them interns or anything like that, but it's their job, and they come in and they play with us, and they help bring up the skill level as well. I know that didn't really answer the silo issue, but
Garrett, talk us through, your process of kind of finding your place here. You've been called, hired, brought in, and you've seen a job description, but then how is it that you feel like you've gone about finding your place in the community of the church?
Yeah. I'm gonna tack on to Brock's question right fast. I think some of the ways that I've seen it is like one, first of all, like it's a call to ministry, not a call to music ministry. And second of all, it's ultimately serving the church. So like when you're available, you're giving the invitation of going second to allow them to be available as well. And then for the job application, so funny story, Dr. Kreider tells me, Garrett, I just want you to talk to this guy. He's a good friend of mine. And well, I get on the phone and Todd's telling me about this opportunity, and I shot him down for the first 10 minutes, didn't even hear him out. But it was cool to see God open that door and lead me here. I saw the job description, and it was really exciting because kind of that same point, I've never really served at a church where I could, serve in all the ministry areas, and ABC is a blessing in that I can serve in the orchestra every single week. I can help with the choir. I'm a part of the big productions, but I'm also doing the youth band. I'm also doing the young adult service. So finding my place, I think, has been interesting because this is kind of a newer thing, right? And I still have room to make mistakes and to fail, but there's that expectation that Todd sets is very, very high. So. I think the church has been super welcoming, but at these first 7 months, I'm just kind of looking for places to serve and where I can best serve and think for the future. Like I just started teaching guitar lessons, acoustic guitar, and I'm not the greatest guitarist, but I could teach you, like the four chords we use in church music, So we're teaching 3 kids and the youth to play acoustic guitar, and some of them are junior high, hoping to plug them into the youth band, to plug them into the 11-15, to plug them into the choir and orchestra led service. Just trying to find ways to build people up and to delegate, because I personally believe that um, our job is to steward the gifts and talents that the Lord has already provided in the church. I don't think that professional musicians are bad. You're never going to hear me say that. When you need a drummer, you need a drummer. But I think that the Lord has provided who you need to serve your church in that ministry within the church. So it's all about stewardship. But I hope that was a little rabbit trail.
So personally, how did, you still probably feel new, like,
Yes, sir.
like my family and I, we've been here for over a year and a half now, and we still feel like, Fort Worth is new to us. We've just gotten a little more comfortable with directions and things like that. So what are some of the getting used to things and figuring out how people see you, right?
Well, ABC is a very welcoming church. When I came in view of a call, like people were stopping me in the hallway, basically like, I don't know you. Who are you? I want to know you, and I want to like I want to love on you, type of deal. So I think I'm not sure where to go with that question actually.
I want to point out something really positive. As the worship associate, he came in view of call. A lot of churches just hire, fire. It's not a ministry calling position, but for you all, it clearly was, and that says very strong things about your church. So, maybe anybody at this point, any questions anybody has about either one of them, just, yeah.
I'd like to just hear what a normal week is like and how y'all plan from Sunday to Sunday and your Wednesday night activities and things like that.
Okay. All right. So obviously we start on Sunday, early call. I stay after. We just switched to Ableton, so I bounce tracks for 4 hours on Sunday afternoon. So yeah. And then Monday morning, we kind of I spend that time to look over the live stream. If you ever want to get humbled, just watch your live stream. I mean, it just hurts. But yeah, so I take notes and kind of like Dr. Lewis's class when we would grade our things and like write our own papers. I hated it at the time, but I do it every week to try to get ready for that meeting. We recap the meeting right after lunch. And I get ready for our Tuesday rehearsal for the 11:15 band. I spend time on Tuesday packing up chairs, getting ready for Wednesday for our young adult gathering in one of our bigger rooms, and just try to get ready for that staff meeting. Then we've got rehearsal in the afternoon. It's 6:15 to 7:30. I try to make sure that everybody's on time and get out, respect their time, get everybody out.
And he does, because
yeah.
I'm playing keys this weekend. And he starts out with a devotion, which I think is great. And it doesn't have to be long, but he is doing more than a musician's musician. He's shepherding, he's pastoring, he's leading. And we're reaching people in that way. So I commend you. That's great.
Yeah, and then Wednesday is our young adult gathering. So Wednesday is a crazy day for me. Start off and just try to make sure that nothing's blown up in Heritage Hall where we have our young adult gathering. Take some of the lights over and set up lights and make sure everything's run. Set up the chairs, do the pro presenter things, you know, all the things. And then I teach guitar lessons around 4:45. And try to get done about 5:15. Then when I've got youth band, I do a little devotional for their youth band because I'm honestly just kind of guilty that I don't get to be there the whole time. You know, I would love to. And then around 5:30, we do that devotional. And then I head downstairs, run across the building, make sure that I didn't forget anything or like in-ears, you know, and then have that rehearsal for the young adult service and then young adult service from 7 to 8. So lots of running around, and at that same time, we're doing kids choir, we're doing choir and orchestra, which all things that I wish I could be multiple people and be in there. But yeah, that's pretty much the week.
And yeah, Sundays, there are other meetings that happen where we do large events throughout the year, and that's just part of our culture that we're used to at Christmas time. 4th of July, we do big fireworks, and 2,000 people come to an outdoor event, and we're part of setting up, tearing down. What you heard from Garrett is he does a lot of set up and tear down. I set up and tear down. It's part of the nature of what we do with our stage. It doesn't stay set for one service all week. We're part of that planning and working together, and so for me, I'm planning a lot of children's creative arts camps, children's program with a coordinator. I work specifically with choir and orchestra, which those are Wednesday night events. Choir is from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. They used to do 1 hour, and I'm like, how in the world can you get this done and memorize? I've forced them to have just words on the back screen. It was basically whole folders, which is, God uses that and God can use that, but I haven't done that in so long. And so they've come along, right? And it's a challenge because I've had a gentleman just turn 90 in my choir, and he's had some health issues and has to back out now. But those were the biggest concerns for him. And I don't want to alienate people. I want more people, young and old, to be able to participate and do it well together. I have other meetings with this senior pastor. I think this relates a little bit about where we are and how I'm here as Garrett's supervisor. So in Naples, I was there for 15 years. We were running 4,500 to 5,000 people and a very large church, and you get used to that pace. And things went really sideways. Okay, that happens in churches. And so I'm like late 50s. I mean, where do you go in worship ministry with any sort of equivalency or what, so I'm like open to the Lord, and a few places I tried to get into, he did not put me there. It didn't happen. And then Austin Baptist Church with a 38-year-old pastor and a 38-year-old executive pastor, and they were building a team. And they were not afraid to have us, at the time, I was 58 years old, to come and be on the staff. And although I am the senior most member of the staff, they still wanted someone with experience that still has a lot of gas in the tank. I still feel like I do. I take care of myself, a lot of vision. My kids are grown. They're all married now. My son's graduating from UF with his law degree in May. I have a daughter that lives here in Dallas and one daughter that lives in Indianapolis. And so it was a time in our lives where the Lord moved us from a very affluent, successful, quote, successful church into another church with a different vision. And I'm just grateful that these guys were very open to hiring a seasoned guy. And they wanted me in a position to be able to lead and train and have an associate. And that all happened before me. God was moving in advance. And so I'm just trying to follow where God's moved me. And it's a blessing to be a part of what we're doing. Yes, sir.
How do you manage your work life with your family life and then your walk with God? And this is for both you and Garrett.
This season of my life, with being an empty nester, it's not as much a challenge as when all three kids were playing soccer at the same time. And we were dividing and conquering with that, and the expectations and demands of the work. But I honestly, in Naples, mercy, okay, you're bringing up stuff. We had a Saturday night church. So for 15 years, I had somewhere to be on Saturday nights. I didn't go to ball games.
Northern Virginia, 14 years. Yeah, I didn't have a weekend for 14 years. Yeah.
And so I definitely guarded Fridays and as much of Saturday as I could. And then, I knew my limits when I needed to take certain days off or whatever. And I had that freedom to be able to do that. But, maintaining my relationship with the Lord is just, that's tops. I mean, every day and all day. And that's changed and developed, and I'm blessed to have my wife as a great musician in the music ministry, because this is a side note, I lead choir 6:30 to 7:30, and then she takes it over for the last 30 minutes so that I can go and start orchestra. And I take them from 7:30 to 8:30. But as far as balancing that, it's going to be a challenge, but work hard, serve the Lord well. We did not have major problems at home. But I think that helped that my wife felt called to ministry.
Amen.
As much as I did.
Amen.
And so when we looked at these situations, we're like, we're in this together. And when we went, like the first church when I left seminary, and went to West Mobile Baptist Church, it was a split off church. They had no buildings. They were meeting in an old boat marina. I visited them. I loved the spirit. They wanted to reach people for the Lord. They had a small little band, pretty large choir. They were running 450 people then in 2 different services. And so within 3 months, that senior pastor was out of the pastorate there. Okay. And gosh, I don't know if I should tell you all this. It was covered up. He went on to somewhere else and it was covered up. All right. And for the next 10 months, we went through the process of calling a new pastor, called a new pastor. And he lasted another year. All right. And then he was gone. 2 moral failures. Okay. And then the third pastor came. So within 3.5 years, I'm in the middle of working my D-Min degree, driving back and forth to New Orleans and trying to build. You just focus in on the Lord and the ministry and the people, and the chairmans of the committees, these boys were up here leading us. I had to get past my ego because I'd learned my master's degree. I should be here. They should give me more. You have to really earn it. And you earn that respect by loving, being faithful and committed to them. And never, but as I look back on it, God did more equipping me in ministry to lead for the long haul than probably any other church I've been in at the time. I've been in several part-time situations. So yes, maintain that relationship with the Lord, with spouse, if you have that, and just make sure you're working hard. Like Garrett, this guy works hard, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, work-life balance. I'm not married yet, so that doesn't
It's
exist.
gonna change.
No, but when I stepped in this past 7 months, the first 6 months I'd say is I was taking inventory of everything in the church, like the talents that I found, like who wants to serve, and the hearts of the people as well, not just the talents, because I think sometimes we prioritize talent over the heart posture of where they are. And then I honestly obsess about everything going on. Like I'll be up late at like 2 a.m, like thinking about how to make the youth band better. So I honestly need to get better about that work-life balance. But I think that'll help once I get married, you know. Yeah, a little bit more structure. But yeah, so and then I think just like you've heard Dr. Kreider say like 1,000,001 times, the best thing that you can do to serve your church is your daily walk with the Lord. Like your faithfulness to his word is the most important thing, because again, like it's a call to ministry, not a call to music ministry. The temptation, especially as you jump into a new position, is you watch that live stream on Monday and you're frustrated about X, Y, and Z. You're excited about this, you know, and it becomes a performance, right? Like it unwittingly, you know, like, and you try, and we all know these things, you know, but being adamant about like what the object of our worship, and that it's not a performance, and that like ultimately like we're not the ones leading the worship. So all these things that you've heard and been beat over the head with, yeah, it'll come up and you'll be able to apply it. But yeah, constantly relying on God's word, because ministry is hard and there's going to be long nights, and you'll like sometimes you work every day of that week because of events, you know, and that happens. So you have to have that foundation of God's word if you're going to make it, you know. Sweet. I think that answered your cool.
Somebody else? Yeah, Alex.
At what point, or have you already begun to incorporate him into larger staff meetings and helping him engage with other staff?
Every Tuesday is our all staff. And so he's in that every week. And he's fully engaged in that. And we just went through each staff member was able to tell the best thing that I do. And that was to help us get to know each other and to encourage one another. And mine was inspire. Inspire the choir. I mean, you've heard that phrase. And I heard that. Remember the story of the first church that had the 3 different pastors? Well, that third pastor stayed for 25 years.
Amen.
And I'm like, I wish I could have served with him longer. And I still keep up with them. But he would always tell me, you know, sing about Jesus. Definitely that. I'm like, yes, I'm with you on that. But he said, one of your main jobs is to inspire. And so I gravitated toward that. And so I think of inspirational moments. And so that was kind of mine, but Garrett's was
Smiling.
Smiling. And so he's fully engaged with the rest of the staff. And I'm really happy with how he's interfacing with the student ministry pastor and associate. They're working together as a team to care for those students. Lynn plays flute. She's also a worship associate. She does our children's choir. And we all have good working relationships together. And with Stephen, that key with the media person is really, really key. And those two guys are great. But we love to go hang out and have barbecue.
That's cool.
Part of our relationship is not, I don't me dictating to, that's not how I have rolled for all these years. We've had Garrett in our house with my 3 kids before he was ever called from our church. And so he's a part of that overall mix, and being a part like worship weekend was our latest thing that we did. Christmas presentation. It's a pretty big deal. We had 32 in the orchestra, but only 55 in the choir. So I was really having to get it out.
Sounds just like
It was-
Western.
It was amazing here. But he's a part of that, and he's interfacing with my choir members and other orchestra players. And so it's just happened sort of organically and natural. And anything I can do to help them.
The second day that I was there, before I'd even led a Sunday, I did the closing prayer for staff meeting, so just right off the bat.